All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to some more Mania 7 Key World Cup 2024 semifinals action. We've been seeing some amazing matches. We're coming off of a nice break after one of the craziest matches of this tournament, China versus Malaysia, just barely missing out on that tiebreaker. And we're here for a loser's bracket match with all the stakes in the world. We've got Canada versus Brazil, an exciting matchup to be sure. I'm Toph Daddy, one of your commentators, joined here by Sparky. How's it going?
It's going absolutely fantastic. If you did not catch that absolute barn burner of a match in China versus Malaysia, oh boy, that
you've got to watch it. You've gotta watch it.
Absolutely, but that was then. This is now. We have a seed 7 versus 9 showdown, and like Toph mentioned, it is a loser's bracket match. One of these two countries, his run will end here. And I don't know about you, Toph, but in the past, we've had some pretty electrifying showdowns between these two countries, whether it be in 4 key or 7 key. I think we're in for a bit of a show here.
I agree with you. This is going to be a really interesting matchup. I mean, I think both teams have very balanced teams. Canada in particular has one player who sticks out to me a lot, and that's Mr. Moo, because of their just absolutely insane LN capabilities. And we're already seeing a protect from Canada on LN2, and I'm absolutely not surprised about that.
Yeah, arguably the least surprising protect in this pool. I mean, they probably had pick of the litter in terms of what they wanted to go for in that LN pool. That's probably just the most comfortable pick that their duo for that map could swing a score on.
I don't even know if it's like most comfortable, so to speak. I think LN2 is the most difficult LN map for non-LN players in this pool. I think everything else is somewhat approachable for players who are more comfortable with the right side of things. But LN2 really pushes the release and coordination aspect that, those LN2 categories have been really testing for.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're deliberating on that, Rice 1 was to protect for Brazil. So we're going to see that LN versus Rice dichotomy we love to talk about so much in these matches. And sure enough, Brazil, given the opportunity, getting rid of LN1 here.
Yeah, not surprising at all. I almost expect from Canada to see maybe a Rice 5 ban. That would maybe be the most comparable map to Rice 1 in the pool. And just seeing Brazil ban that out, or protect Rice 1, would kind of give the expectation of that, and my guess is right. They do end up banning out Rice 5 there.
Yeah, signed, sealed, and delivered. I think they understood some of the preferences there from Brazil and wanting to pinch that pool just a little bit to ensure that they don't have, like, maybe free point. I never want to call the points free, but comfort definitely reigns supreme in these picks sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, out of every 7 key match that we've seen, the way that the protection bans is almost certainly what we expected to happen. So maybe the first time I've seen that this tournament, but which is weird because Brazil's in this matchup and they're always weird with their protects and bans. But LN2 comes out immediately from Canada, so getting the protect out of the way early, want to start this match on the right foot, and I can't really blame them for that.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to set the tone early. Do not want to mess about in terms of exploring potential outside picks. Don't need to go into those hybrids just yet. You have the rest of the LN pool, but if you're brave enough to protect something like this, you're probably brave enough to go into this as an opener for a pick. And we'll just wait to see who is going to back up on Mr. Move for Canada. Imagine. It'd be a very interesting strategy if they were not in for an LN pick. That for Brazil.
Yeah,
we'll see
certainly is true. We've got Harambe and Mr. Moo being the Canadian duo. We got Tart, by the way, sitting in the lobby waiting for the second Brazilian player. Making some jokes in the chat there, telling Canada telling the Brazilian players to take Dale for this LN pick.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good option. Just covert secret agent going down to Brazil. Then we'll have Silly Fangirl step in for Brazil. Makes sense. Definitely one of the more well-rounded Brazilian players in their roster, so can definitely swing performances on these LNs, as well as the Rice picks that they'll probably go into once it is their turn to pick.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely not surprising. We've seen Silly Fangirl historically just absurd at this game in general. Going in for maybe something that the other players feel a little awkward about. And looks like that's going to be the final teams. Harambe and Mr. Moo versus Tart, BTW, and Silly Fangirl for our first map out of a possible 11 here in the semifinals matchup. First match for these players in the losers bracket. So even whoever wins this match will move on to face another team in the losers bracket, but the loser will be eliminated. All stakes ahead.
Oh, an early double break from the Brazilians here to start this map off. Gonna give Canada an immediate cushion to work with as we get further and further into this chart. Just two different levels of comfort on display here. Right-hand side, what normally happens when you play LN maps like this, and then you have Canada. Harambe does find a drop in return, but then you look at Mr. Moo holding on to the sole 99% at the moment. Gonna drop down to the low 99s, but hang on for now. Not immune to the drops as well.
Yeah, so we've already seen all four players dropping combo, but Brazil having just pretty much constant drops here. Neither player really able to establish a strong combo. Both of the Canadians above 400. Silly Fangirl just now getting up there again. But Tart, by the way, not having the best time getting up there. Silly Fangirl dropping again. Mr. Moo finding another drop, but like you said, holding the only 99% in the lobby and staying in that strong accuracy, while Brazil just cannot stay at 400 combo for long enough to really have an impact here.
Yeah, there's just so much going on. All 7 columns just inundated at all times. That coordinating releases here, staggers there. It just becomes too much to bear. And the fact that right now Canada holding on to this average, 99% accuracy between the two of them compared to the 97s, 98s on Brazil. I mean, this is definitely proving to be one of, if not the best protect that they could have gone for in this map pool. Really showing off what they are made of on these LNs.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these plays, a 97 on this, absurdly good. I'm just going to say that right now. I cannot even fathom being able to do that, but Mr. Moo is from another planet, so is Harambe. That's just how it works. Canada, an absurdly good long note team, and that really shows with that 145,000 point victory there.
Yeah, arguably what could be the most convincing win of this match. I highly doubt we'll see that kind of scoreline on the rest of these picks. This is definitely, as you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, one of the harder LN picks in this pool, if not the hardest normal pick in this pool, barring the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that being the case, but it is Brazil's pick now. That was Canada's first pick, so not going to be too big of a hit to potentially Brazil's confidence in this. I don't know if they were really expecting to have a stake in LN2 there, but they do get their own selection here. Rice 4 comes out, so they're getting the Jack pick out of the way early. A bit of an accuracy battle here coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So far this tournament, the core Jack picks have been where teams take the gloves off, they throw down, and basically say, I can outratio your best player on this, and my partner can do it too. These scores have been ridiculous so far this tournament, and unsurprising, we're going to see Harambe sub out for Dale, who is definitely more accustomed to these core Jack picks for Canada. And looks like Brazil staying in place. Tart and Silly Fangirl staying for now to contest against them.
That is true. These are going to be the teams with just one replacement there. Dale coming in, like you said. Man, this is such an interesting pick in my eyes. Protecting Rice 1 from Brazil makes sense. I think if you have a Rice advantage in particular, you go with something like Rice 1 because, in my opinion, that is the hardest Rice pick in the pool, at least to get good accuracy and consistency on. This map, it's fast, but if you're capable of keeping up with the speed, it's really just about that accuracy. And Canada has a very strong roster for maps like this, so I'm not sure I agree with this coming out first from Brazil's side.
Yeah, there's definitely some debate there. It will remain to be seen if both Silly and Tart can keep pace with Dale and Mr. Moo. I know Tart finding the first break very early on, not going to be the opening that they want. Mr. Moo does trade it back, and Dale drops as well as the course starts to get even denser. Silly staying with the only FC so far in this lobby, and it's proving to work to their advantage, already building up about a 4,000 point lead. Not the safest of leads as we make our way into the second quarter. Tart finding another drop, going to shrink it, and Canada now retake the advantage with another drop from Tart.
Yeah, that is going to be another drop. It's about a 6,000 point lead. Accuracy advantage definitely in the side of Canada, despite the full combo here from Silly Fangirl, who also has the highest accuracy. But that dropped down to 99.27% from Tart. Not doing Brazil any favors. We get into a little break here, so they'll be able to build up that combo up to 400 pretty safely. I think the real worry right now is the ending, because there's a little bit of a stamina issue that comes up with the ending once the next difficult part comes up, and it gets a little denser towards the ending. And at 132 BPM, the coordination and stamina required for this is non-negligible, even for players of this caliber.
Yeah, for sure. Going to remain to be seen once we transition out of this bit of a lull and we take stock of the situation. It's basically a top half versus bottom half battle going on right now. Mr. Moo and Silly Fangirl basically canceling each other out in this 99.8% mark. It's the fact that Dale is 0.3% ahead of Tart and a couple misses in the back pocket as well, accounting for the 7,000 point lead as we make our way into the last third. But right now, it is still all to play for. All Brazil are banking on is Canada having a rough section in this last quarter, and it could immediately turn the tide back in their favor.
Yeah, we are actually seeing Tart hold on to that combo, recovering well, trying to build up that accuracy almost back up to the 99.5 range. But the difficulty starts to increase here. We're seeing no breaks come out right at the beginning, but we've seen so many breaks happen right at the end of this map with how it goes. And Tart is going to be the first, but traded right away by Mr. Moo, so it's going to be 2 combos through this. Silly Fangirl still holding on to the full combo, but Canada with a 10,000 point lead off of that trade.
Yeah, it's the fact that Dale has recovered so marvelously well, back up to that 99.8 range as Tart finds yet another drop and a second one to boot. That might be the end of their potential run. Dale trades one of those back, but the damage has already been done. The lead grows to about 19,000 points as we reach some of the densest chords in this chart. Thankfully, there are no deviations from all this one, too. Mr. Moo finds a break at the end, but Canada hangs on for the first break point in this match to make it 2-0 despite
wow, what is this? What are these accuracies from everyone? There are 3 players with 1-200 in this lobby,
but only one FC.
Only
Silly.
one FC.
What? 995k, and that I don't think that's the highest score of the weekend so far.
It's not. It's definitely not. I don't know what the highest is. I know that Chiwi had a higher score on this earlier, about 7 hours ago, actually, but still, that is an absurd score, just unfortunately not enough to give Brazil that point. And like I said, with a player like Dale on the other team, with a team like Canada over there, it's a little bit of a hard sell to go straight for accuracy instead of like really pushing the Rice difficulty. But Canada going to take what they can get. Harambe coming back in for this LN4 pick. Someone said hybrid 4 in the chat, and I got really confused for a second.
Well, hasn't gotten that big just yet, but
no, not quite.
I know the players like to take some liberties here and there with the stylistic choices in some of these charts. Definitely grow some opinions. I
mean, to their credit, this map definitely has the potential to play more like a hybrid than it does as an LN pick, which, you know, with how the blue structure works in general, makes sense ultimately as a balanced choice. Going for a very heavy LN pick that kind of has that difficulty with Rice as well is potentially a good idea to make sure that the pools aren't super unbalanced in favor of certain skill sets.
Yeah, for sure. So, opportunity presenting itself to Canada to capitalize on that breakpoint. Go 3 to the good to start this match off. Silly finding the first drop here. No substitutions for the Brazilians here as we make our way through. Harambe does trade one of those misses back through the early goings, but Tart as well. Both FCs now gone for the Brazilians as they trade more and more misses between each other. And the only one left standing amongst all of them is on Mr. Moo with that FC. 99.7% and ups it on the break.
That's 3 breaks right in the intro. Harambe with the only high combo here in this intro, though. Lowest accuracy in the lobby on top of that combo there, and actually drops that combo there. Score shrinks a little bit. Mr. Moo matching that miss. And now their lead's not very big anymore. Tart and Silly Fangirl both finding breaks. Harambe trading one of them back. But all players in this lobby not really having a great time consolidating any kind of combo, and that lead kind of matching what we're expecting from this kind of trade back and forth. But Canada with the accuracy advantage is taking a slight lead.
Yeah, this map quickly devolving into a bit of a war of attrition. Who can basically cobble together some semblance of combo to get their team over the line. And right now, Canada doing a better job of it at the moment, able to grow their lead to about 19,000 points despite the slew of misses across the entire lobby. Everybody below that 99% mark, but it's the misses that are starting to add up. Just inopportune timing between everybody. Harambe the next one to find a drop, and it puts a tiny bit of a dent in this Canadian lead as we cross our way into the back half of the chart now. It's still all to play for. I don't think this lead is safe for Canada.
It definitely is not. The accuracies are definitely close enough that anything can happen, especially if BTW starts to consolidate and recover, but that is going to be a double miss from Brazil as both of the Canadian players are above the 400 combo mark. This is a very coordination-heavy section here. The lead up to about 23,000, but the accuracy is not safe in this scenario. There's a very slight difference in accuracy between these two teams, and it's all about combo here. If Brazil can hold on to some combo and see some Canadian misses, we could definitely see this lead swapping over.
Yeah, going into the last quarter, everybody having a bit of difficulty as we get into this very dense LN section. Staggers all over the place. I was going to say Mr. Moo able to make it through that last section, but now starting to fall victim to some of those misses as well. Gives Brazil a couple of openings, but not being capitalized on it. Silly trades those misses back in perpetuity. As we continue on into the last 8, everybody's still trying to, again, scrape something together. Harambe picks up the mantle for the Canadians. Tart as well for the Brazilians. Harambe the next one to fall. Nobody wants to pick up that mantle going to this ending.
I mean, it's not surprising that that's really hard, but it does start to calm down a little bit, and we've got about a 25,000 point lead in favor of Canada. It is easier on this end of the map, so it should be a relatively safe lead. They just need to make sure that they don't mess up this ending.
As things continue through these last couple of notes, going to rain down, and Canada successfully capitalizing on that break point to make it 3-0. But oh boy, that was definitely a bit of a doozy for everybody involved.
Yeah, very close map there. In all honesty, that was a few misses away from being a Brazilian point there. We see that the main difference was those misses from Tart BTW there, because all these, like, we see like a literal mirror in the middle there. The accuracy between Tart and Harambe very similar, and the accuracy between Mr. Moo and Silly Fangirl very similar.
Yeah, but I mean, similar to what we were alluding to in LN2, not something that Brazil would have willingly gone into, so definitely can't let that get to them as they go for something probably a little bit more up their alley. What we were probably expecting them to go into to start this match off, gonna be Rice 1.
Yeah, now really pushing the Rice difficulty, trying to make sure that Canada doesn't get 2 breakpoints ahead. So I feel like they're in really that position where they almost feel backed up against a wall, and the Protect is the perfect way to kind of, give yourself the best chance to get yourself away from that wall and potentially get some momentum back in your favor.
Yeah, for sure. And so far, nobody swapping out for the Brazilians. I imagine this is basically going to be the duo for the remainder of this match. Maybe just the most comfortable, able to handle what this pool has to offer. Meanwhile, Canada having that luxury of being able to bring in Dale or Mr. Mu Harambe basically staying put for them to kind of anchor the roster, the quote-unquote Swiss Army knife for the Canadians as we get on into this fourth map of this best of 11.
Yeah, interestingly for Canada, we've seen both Mr. Mu and Harambe swap out when the rice picks come around. So having that kind of versatility between players definitely seems to be helping them out, but they're still just one break point ahead. Brazil looking to at least consolidate 1 point, get themselves in a position to get back in this match if they're able to take a break point.
Absolutely, and we get through this introduction. Everybody making it through relatively unscathed. Harambe picking up a couple of early 200s, going to drop him down to that 98, low 99% range. Going to have plenty of time to build it back up since it is early going, but going to give Brazil a bit of a cushion to work with for now. 4,000 points and climbing as we begin the first real dense section of this chart.
Yeah, it gets dense, it's more delay focused. We see Silly Fangirl actually finding a drop early on in these bursts. Dale does trade it back though, so Brazil's going to maintain that lead off of the accuracy advantage they have. Silly Fangirl holding on to an extremely strong accuracy despite that miss. Tart actually holding on to a better accuracy than both Canadian players, and Brazil's in a great position to hold on to this.
Yeah, early doors, it was Dale going up against Silly Fangirl, but Dale falling off the mantle here, down in that low 99% range, and as you mentioned, down below even Tart on the other side, so it's going to give Brazil a very healthy cushion now as we make our way into the last third now.
Yeah, some more technical patterns coming out in this ending here. A few mini jack-esque patterns. Silly Fangirl does trip up on one of them, but that was not the full combo that Brazil has. It is 1-2-1 on full combos. Accuracy advantage going to Tart versus Harambe there. But Dale and Silly Fangirl, the non-full combos. Harambe breaks that full combo, and now there's just one for Brazil with a 25,000 point lead as the accuracy advantage still holds on in their favor.
Yeah, Dale, the next one to fall. Tart finally loses the FC, but similar story to what we've seen on the LN picks. The damage might have already been done. Brazil doing more than enough to prove that they can earn one of these points, and finally arriving on time. It is going to be 3-1. Brazil notching their first point on the board here.
5-200s for Silly Fangirl. Wait a minute. What is that accuracy?
No.
I don't think that's allowed. The ratio too is just so good.
Yeah, just it's the story that we've come accustomed with Silly Fangirl. Just extraordinary performances all across the board, and having the support of Tart as well to basically stave off one of these Canadian performers. Just no, when they get going, they are nigh unstoppable sometimes.
They for sure are, and they keep it in a one breakpoint game. Canada has their own pick. They've got a long note map left, but it is the density choice, which maybe might not be the most comfortable selection to go with from Canada, but it might be the only one. But Hybrid 3 actually comes out here from Canada, so avoiding that density long note pick.
Yeah, I think it's the next logical choice, going down into those hybrids. Kind of have to if you are a more LN-oriented roster. The onus falls on you to be able to perform on these hybrids nearly as well, and does pose a bit of a danger. You bring some of those rice-oriented teams back into the equation sometimes if you go a bit astray in your choice of these three hybrids.
Yeah, this map in particular, I think, a little bit more on the LN side of things. We've seen LN teams picking this most of the weekend, which makes sense from Canada's side. It's also very consistency heavy. It's almost 4 minutes long. So having that, really good consistency with long note accuracy and general ability in 7Q is going to be really important. And I think that's really what Canada's looking for here.
Alrighty, so everybody loads in to this fifth map of this best of 11. Brazil freshly off the back of notching their first point on the board. Canada looking to keep things going on their side. They do have the advantage of that breakpoint in the back pocket. Gonna need to dive into the first hybrid of this match to continue their journey to potentially winning. But Brazil's going to make it as hard as humanly possible as we make our way through this introduction.
Tart with an early break traded off by Mr. Mu, both for 400 combo. Silly Fangirl and Harambe holding on to it through that 400, having the full combos. Accuracy favoring Brazil with that excellent accuracy from Silly Fangirl. Tart with another break though. Going to shrink the lead just a little bit after that intro there, but it still might just be in favor of Brazil.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tug of war through this next section. Still only in the first quarter of the chart, but this density makes it so much easier to read for Brazil because you can kind of just get away with playing it like a rice-oriented stream. You just got to be able to respect the releases at the end and some of those shields as well. As we take stock of the situation, 3,000 points in favor of the Brazilians at the moment, as Harambe 2/10 behind Tart, and Mr. Moon losing the battle to Silly Fangirl at the moment, a full 0.5%. And 3 of the 4 players load back in. We hope that maybe it's just a tiny bit of lag from Silly Fangirl. We might see a little bit of a goofy situation at the end of this chart where don't be surprised if it just abruptly ends.
Yeah, we'll see if that ends up being the case here. We're seeing consistent misses from the other 2 players who are in the lobby right now. Tart finding a few breaks at the moment, but pretty much everyone not having a great time keeping combo. Harambe finding some footing there, but does find a break eventually, and everyone's just finding so many difficulties in this.
Yeah, for sure. Being able to stay consistent through some of these runs are just borderline impossible. The fact that everybody was finding misses left and right can be attributed to that. Just a testament to how difficult this hybrid is. And really, all Tart has to do is stay ahead of Harambe, and if Silly Fangirl is holding up their end of the bargain on that bottom right-hand corner, wherever they may be, if they can keep themselves ahead of Mr. Mu, whom we see is at about 98.8, pretty nice, going to be able to climb back up to that 99 if they can cobble together some decent sections going into this back half, then, I mean, ball could be in Brazil's court to try and take one of those breakpoints back. Just remains to be seen at the moment.
It definitely is a little bit difficult to see what's going on, but Silly Fangirl having the start that they did, as long as this isn't a full DC, I actually think it might end up being a Brazil lead right now.
All signs could potentially point to it. Harambe has been able to climb back up over Tart, so reversal of fortunes here as we make our way into the last quarter. A bit more of a rice-oriented section. This could be an opening for Brazil to start climbing back in terms of accuracy if they were able to keep their LN sides of this map up to snuff. But for right now, just misses all across the board on this top side. A full reset for Harambe, Tart, and now Mr. Mu joining with them as we get into this LN burst. Walls appearing out of nowhere and quickly transitioning between the 2 of them as, again, everybody just trading misses back and forth, needing to scrape together some combo. Harambe the only one being able to get above that 400 combo cap for the moment as we make our way into the last 8.
Getting into those last nodes, looks like Tart's actually falling behind quite a bit here. The 2 Canadian players holding on, and Silly Fangirl does end up DCing there. Unfortunate situation. It looks like it was looking like a while for that Brazil might have been able to hold on if Silly Fangirl had a good performance there. Disconnected too late to really do anything there, but Canada had an insane performance on that, and I don't think it would have been enough regardless.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we did get word potentially lost power on their end, and would have been a 983,000 point difference they would have needed to overcome. So with the scores here,
that's a tough ask for Hybrid 3. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the best players on a good day can struggle to get to that mark. So unfortunate it happened. It was I mean, it is what it is sometimes. You can't really do much against Mother Nature, but as it stands, probably a pretty firm Canadian win at the end of the day there, and they make it 4-1.
Yeah, luckily for Brazil, that was Canada's pick. They were maybe not expected to win, but that doesn't hurt their chances of getting back in this match if they're able to get a break point later on in this match, especially on a map like that felt very, very Canada favored. But Brazil are gonna try to get Silly Fangirl back in, and they'll have their own pick to try and make it a closer game now.
Yeah, but now, does that mean that Brazil is without Silly Fangirl for the duration of this match? Hopefully that power comes back and it becomes a bit of a non-issue. They do have the timeout in the back pocket if they do need a couple extra minutes just to ensure that they could come back. But that being said, they do have two other players on their roster that could potentially step up to the plate. And yes, Brazil will be using their timeout. So we get a chance to kind of catch our breath. We've seen some pretty frenetic action through these opening, 5 picks, and can finally just take our foot off the gas a little bit and see what the strategy moving forward for both these countries could be.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw Brazil perform extremely well on Rice 1. I could imagine a Rice 6 pick coming out from Brazil next. It's just a matter of which of the two chord stream picks they really feel comfortable with. I think more of the mystery comes from what Canada wants to do from here on out. Because Hybrid 2 is not really a super long note focused map, and neither is Hybrid 1, even though it might be more so. But LN3 really isn't the greatest pick for them either. It's very, not heavily favored to Rice players, but it's definitely not going to give them as much of an advantage as LN2 or LN4 did.
Yeah, and it really just goes to show how important that LN1 ban was for Brazil, because you get rid of something that probably would have been a lot more Canadian favored, or at least less comfortable to play through if you are Brazil, and you leave that option open. You put Canada in a bit of a tight spot. Like, do we go into LN3, or do we take our chances on these hybrids where we could run into a couple of problems if we don't have the cleanest of runs against Brazil here?
Yeah, definitely not the most comfortable position for Canada to be in. I think they would still feel comfortable, especially after performing well on all three of their current picks. But it's just, you're in a position where a lot can still happen. I think, in my opinion, the last pick Canada makes is Hybrid 2, just because I think Brazil, it's not so physically demanding, and the LN coordination has a few sections of it, but it's really about the accuracy of it. And I think Brazil is able to kind of poke in their heads when it comes to accuracy on more LN focused things, whereas LN4 or LN3 and Hybrid 1, not quite like that.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, these are all hypotheticals. They can put those to rest once we get to their pick here. But now we turn our attention to Brazil. You have Rice 2, Rice 3, Rice 6 still left on the table. And Rice 4 didn't go their way. I mean, to be fair, Cord Jack is one of those black and white kinds of things where you just need to have the run of runs on command, or it's essentially a break point going the other way. What would be the best option for them as we deliberate on what their next pick is going to be?
I think I mentioned this before, but I think Rice 6 is the best pick for Brazil in this scenario. We saw them perform very well in Rice 1. Rice 6 it's called the mixed Rice pick, and that sort of describes what it is, but the biggest thing about Rice 6 is that it's jacks and then streams. So it's kind of a mix between Rice 4 and Rice 1, but we're not seeing Rice 6 out of the gate. We're seeing the speedier chord stream pick, which I think is Brazil's second best pick. I think at Rice 3 and Rice 6 are going to be picked by Brazil one way or another. Mm-hmm. Rice 2 should not be the next pick from Brazil.
No, absolutely not. Chord stream, even at that BPM, is one of those things where everybody in the lobby reaches a comfort zone and you start kind of rolling the dice a little bit. Okay, which one of us is going to blink first, find that miss? And you definitely don't want to play that game. You want to ensure that you can either out physical or just out ratio your opponent on command. And Rice 3, probably a good start. Rice 6, we can debate back and forth as to which one of the two would have been better, but ultimately they're the ones gonna have to play it. Hopefully power stays steady for everybody involved and we can move on into the sixth map of this best of 11.
Yeah, and again, good time, maybe not good timing, but like better timing than something like that happening on a map like Tinnitus, where I think Brazil has a much better chance of having that lead and kind of keeping it together. But
Oh, absolutely.
Silly Fangirl back in the game. They're going for the speed chord stream pick, something a little bit more similar to Rice 1, which they were able to take the victory on against Canada. And we'll be getting into map number 6 here. Brazil hoping to keep themselves within striking distance of Canada.
And as we get this map underway, a bit of a chord jack section for the players to chew through. Gonna have some pretty even scores across the board, but once the chord stream begins to rain down, we start to see some delineations, some deviations across, and Harambe picking up the brunt of it right now, finding the first drop here, gonna bow down to the low 98. Dale next one to fall, no FCs left on the side of Canada. Tart trades one of those back, but damage already being done here early going. Silly Fangirl standing as the lone FC in the lobby now as we make our way into the second quarter of the chart.
Yeah, Brazil certainly thankful to have Silly Fangirl back with the 99.7 on this Tart, finding a few drops, still has slightly higher accuracy than Harambe, but a few more misses, even with the higher accuracy, will be enough to give it back to Canada here, despite the accuracy lead, though they're very even. Tart with another miss, Harambe actually eclipsing Tart's accuracy as we hit the break, but Harambe missing right before the break. So is Tart! 2 misses there, and the lead's gonna stay right around that 4,000 mark until we hit the denser section.
Just cancel out that entire top half of the lobby. Harambe and Tart are gonna have their own battle in the second half. Now turn our attention to Dale and Silly. Silly winning the battle between the two of them by about 0.3% and still holding on to Seoul FC in this lobby. So basically keeping this lead intact for Brazil, but 5,000 points is not a scoreline you kind of want to rest on. As we make our way, the density once again ramps up to 11, and Silly finds the break.
That's not the miss you wanted to see. The full combo breaks there. Everyone else holding on. Tart also breaks. Canada takes the lead there. Harambe trades one back. It's still going to be a slight lead for Canada as they start to build up. Tart finds another break. Finding multiple breaks. Stamina seems to be a bit of an issue. Harambe also finding some stamina issues. It's basically Dale versus Silly, but that lead is extending so heavily in Canada's favor as Tart just has so much trouble keeping the accuracy steady.
Yeah, it was looking good through the early goings, but I think just hitting a bit of a wall there towards the end, doing everything in their power to keep it steady, but dropping down to that 97% range. And with Harambe and Dale able to keep themselves above water, they will be taking another breakpoint to make it 5-1 now, despite that run from Silly, a singular miss and 6 200s.
I mean, you can't say enough about how well Silly Fangirl's doing, but Canada is just, I think at this point it's clear that there's a certain amount of versatility that the Canadian team has that maybe Brazil is just not able to keep up with. And LN3 comes out immediately from Canada. And I think this is a fair pick. I think LN3 or Hybrid 1 were the picks there. Hybrid 2 is just a little bit of an awkward situation. But Canada looking to lock this down on their match point. And even if they don't win this, they have lots of opportunities to close this match out. They just need to win one more point.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more comfortable. A couple more avenues opening up to them as we make our way to what could potentially be the last pick in this match. Not unless Brazil has something to say about it, but
Yeah, this is really where Brazil has to hold their feet down. They need to keep themselves together because it's all or nothing at this point. They either put their feet in the ground and they win the next 4 points and the tiebreaker, or they're knocked out of the tournament, and that's huge stakes right now. They have a lot of match left if they want to make it out of this alive.
Yeah, not impossible, but hills can quickly become mountains if you're not too careful. And we wait to see what they can do on the last LN pick in this match.
And even if those hills can turn into mountains, it's getting closer to a point where Canada's going to feel more uncomfortable about the pool in general. It's getting less and less. There's less and less ability to deal with just throwing LNs out. They've got this map and then Hybrid 2 left. Or in Hybrid 1 left after this. But like I said, Hybrid 2, not the most comfortable map for even good long note players. So yeah, they've really got to pull it together.
But they have at least shown that they can stand toe-to-toe with Brazil on those rice picks. So could also open up some opportunities for them there. But as we take stock of the situation here, a synchronized miss between Harambe and Tart.
I don't know if those two misses were those, because there was the pause. I don't know if that was client. Mr. Moo finding 2 breaks that were non-client. It looks like those 2 other misses may not have been client, but Mr. Moo finding some issues here. Tart trading one of those misses back, but Silly Fangirl holding on. Accuracy giving Canada a chance to come back in this with this LN section, allowing them to shrink that lead, but Brazil holds on as Mr. Moo finds another miss.
Yeah, some uncharacteristic misses from Mr. Moo, who has usually been the anchor for Canada on these LN picks. Maybe just the density getting to him, just a couple of inopportune releases here and there, dotting the landscape as they pick up another one here down below the 99% mark, down below Harambe as well. So Harambe needing to pick up the slack here for the Canadians as Tart finds a little bit of difficulty. Silly Fangirl does find a break as well. So all FC's gone on the table.
The solo really destroying Brazil's accuracy. That lead went from about 1,000 to 20,000 very quickly as the Canadian roster was able to really hold through those LNs. Harambe still holding on to an absurd combo. Mr. Moo does miss, and it's going to shrink the lead a little bit as both of the Brazilian players above 400 combo, but it's not going to change the lead unless we see some significant misses towards this ending, but the density we see trip up the Canadian players just a little bit. Tart finds a miss, though, before this transition into the ending. And we're going to have to see some Canadian mistakes here to see Brazil take this point.
Yeah, a quarter of the map left to go. A quarter of time left for Brazil's tournament run. Tart finding a multitude of misses. One from Mr. Moo in return as well. As we continue, Harambe does drop as well. The lead staying input for the Canadians, in fact growing to 21,000 points despite the best efforts of Silly Fangirl picking up the mantle here, 2,000 combo, the only person above that 400 combo cap. The lead does shrink pretty dramatically now, 13,000 points.
Yeah, it's really close.
Finds a couple of drops. Is there enough time for Brazil to swing this back?
I think we need one more 2-minute misses. Tart misses. Oh no, they're finding so many issues in the ending. It was getting so close. Shrink it just a little bit. But it's not going to be enough, and Canada is going to survive for at least one more match longer. Canada moving on in the losers bracket semifinals. Moving on to face, I believe, Thailand?
Remains to be seen. We'll confirm that. But Canada, congratulations to them, clinching this match by a score of 6-1, knocking Brazil out at the first step of semifinals. Commiserations to them. A Herculean effort, but ultimately not enough at the end of the day here. Oh boy, what a match. Just had a little bit of everything.
That was really exciting. I mean, 6-1 doesn't feel like it's that close, but
no.
We saw plenty of opportunities for Brazil to really get back into that, and especially that last match right there. There was so much ability for Brazil to get back into it, and they put on an incredible performance, but Canada will move on, and Thailand is going to be their opponent. It will be Canada versus Thailand to make it into the losers bracket finals for this tournament. And that, I'm so excited about that.
Absolutely. And all right, with that being said, I think that does it for now. We'll be back in about 8 hours, 9 UTC, to bring you guys Japan versus Australia. Just continuing on with these conditional matches, a lot on the line for the remaining countries. But Toph, you know, I always like to say that I love supporting these countries. I mean, we've seen 24 outstanding teams make it into this tournament, and there's only, what, 8 left?
I believe 8's the right number. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I think you were going to ask how to support these teams, and I think I have the answer for you.
Go ahead and tell me.
That answer is banners. We've got banners available on the Osu store for $2.50 USD. And you can buy that banner to support any of the 24 teams that have made it into bracket stage, regardless of where they are in the tournament, whether they've been eliminated, whether they're still in. Even though we've only got 8 left, all 24 are available. And you can buy as many as you want. And as a special bonus, if you predict the correct winner of the Oceania 7 Key World Cup 2024, you get to keep it until the next World Cup starts. And that's such a wonderful way to support the teams. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it is absolutely fantastic. All contributions go towards making this event bigger and better. It goes towards the prize pool. There's just so many benefits to picking up one of those banners. And dare I say, they look pretty snazzy. Why not decorate your profile? That's arguably the second best thing to do in this game. Gotta have the nice profile.
Gotta have the nice profile. I 100% agree. But that's gonna do it for this. Like you said, we've got about 8 hours of a break before the next match. We've got 3 matches left for our semifinals weekend, all of them determining important factors. Japan, Australia, and Thailand, Canada losers bracket matches to determine who makes it to finals. And we've got South Korea versus the Philippines to determine who guarantees their top 3 slot. It's going to be an exciting Sunday of matches, and I personally don't have anything left to say. How do you feel, Sparky?
I feel the exact same way. So until then, we'll catch you guys later.